Yes, it all starts here. It's opening day for the Verizon IndyCar Series.
From St. Petersburg, Florida, new cars, some new faces, and an old, solid group of veterans and winners.
Get ready, stay with them here.
They call it the Valley of the Sun. They're running laps at 155 miles an hour.
Long Beach, California, a beautiful destination city with a huge sandy beach, great marinas, cruise ships, and once a year, the Verizon IndyCars.
The spectacular, undulating Barber Motorsports Park, Indy Grand Prix of Alabama.
The acceleration begins.
The new champion of the Grand Prix of Indianapolis is...
Everyone wants to win. Only one will.
And with those millions watching around the world.
By the way, it's the biggest race of your lives, gentlemen.
Here in the Motor City, in the first of the duel in Detroit.
Business is picking up at turn 7 at Belle Isle. And the green flag waves at Texas Motor Speedway.
All right, let's go.
Wheel to wheel at 210 miles an hour.
And Honda versus Chevy.
Green flag in the air. Sebastian Bourdais is the leader.
In the core of America's heartland is a tiny track that packs a speedy IndyCar punch like no other.
Green, green, green.
Well, let's go racing in Iowa.
He's a penalty.
This is Indy Toronto and the green flag flies.
He's making a move, but he's going to make him go to the wet.
Deep into turn 3. And maybe too deep.
To the Buckeye State. Drivers, start your engines!
There is a giant crowd at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
All right, that's it. Excellent job, young man. Excellent job. You won Mid-Ohio.
The tricky triangle is definitely very tricky.
Look at this pack now.
He's not giving him anything. That's how you're supposed to race.
Over Labor Day weekend of 2016, we will welcome and host the Grand Prix of Boston.
It's the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. It's the championship decider. It's time to bring the action.
Race fans, there they are.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the mountain. Welcome to this round number 4 of the Finnish Sim Racing Championship, sanctioned by the Finnish Sim Racing Association here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. Will Vincent along with Cameron Walsh. These guys are on the grid, real ready for racing here at this magnificent racing circuit. And lighter on, lighter out, we are officially underway for 45 minutes worth of racing. These cars storming down in towards turn 1 for the first time. We'll run through your starting order in just one moment. Guys working themselves through turn 1 for the first time, heading themselves down the back straight away for the first time in this event. And if you're a fan of the mountain, you know that this is your first big opportunity to get yourself a run, try and move up some positions, as these guys are going to be furiously setting the pace here. Too wide, too deep already, as they work themselves in towards turn number 2 for the first time in this event. What, Cam? Got ourselves a fast start to this race. 45 minutes worth of racing. Guys, we'll have to make one pit stop. We're just going to quickly run through that starting grid up on your screen as you carry on talking.
Yes, so here we are, Bathurst, in the Roof RT12R track car. Of course, this is not the GT3 car. This is the track car. It's, I believe this is the all-wheel drive version. For added excitement here at the mountain, it is, of course, Bathurst. If you're not familiar, why aren't you? It's a 3.86-mile, 23-turn trek up and down a large mountain complex, public roads, so it's tight, it's twisty, it's curvy, and it is absolutely frightening in the cockpit, but these guys are planning on mastering it for the next 45 minutes here. It is a sprint race, so this is going to be sprints of 40-some-odd cars taking to the mountain for 45 minutes.
Indeed. As we can see there, we've been riding ourselves along board with driver down in P number 13. That is Alexei Salemi as they come down. We've got ourselves freeway battle out front between Ruku Alatalo, between Klaus Kivikas and Yuri Loftari, as Loftari is going to go down to the inside there of Kivikas. Glacier Racing versus Corrado Sim Sports in towards the S-curve for the first time, and Kvyat will be able to hold on to that second place just for the time being. So we have a look then from the rear of Kvyat's car down in towards the final corner. He will come right now as well. We know that this race is going to be fast and furious all the way through it, as we get a look then at the first couple of cars going past the start finish line for the first time in this event. We know that lap times here are about 2 minutes and 8 in length. And the thing about the long racetrack here, Cam, is it means that you are going to have issues with guys pretty much all coming on towards pit road at the same time. A long pit road and a long racetrack means you haven't got the flexibility you would do at some shorter tracks to work the strategy, as these top 4 drivers right now are separated by 1.1 second on the track.
No, not at all, Will. The pit entry, though, very, very frightening. Pit exit, not necessarily as frightening, but it can get interesting if somebody manages to botch up how corner number 1. That first 90-degree left-hander, as they all attack the mountain once again. Yes, strategy perhaps not in play as far as the pit cycling goes, but it is going to be one of those races, Will, where you are just trying to hold on to that car as long as you can, and if the opportunity presents itself, you are going to want to get yourself around the competitor in front and keep the guy behind you well behind, as Riku Alatalo is still attacking that mountain. Klaus Kvyat and Yohi Lotari right behind him. Glacier, Coanda, Glacier.
Yeah, give you an update. All drivers are still officially on the racetrack. We have one, Antti Salminen, with a very damaged race car, number 52 car, very rear end of your field. It looks like he's actually going to have to get a tow back towards pit road. So he will be our first official retiree of the day. 39 drivers separated by 29 seconds right now, as we get ourselves a look at these drivers from our aerial coverage, brought to you by And One Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. Side by side, battle for the race lead. Kvyat has not yet been able to do that yet, and actually it's Kvyat battling it out with the driver Yohi Lotari. Lotari thinking about there, moving down to the inside on the exit of the final corner. The answer is going to be no to that one for the moment. You've got yourself 5 guys in your front pack. Then you've got Alexia Loma running himself in no man's land with then number 17 machine, Core Motorsports car, closing up behind. You've got yourself 1 driver going slowly right now, and that is Arto Ihimaki, bringing that number 192 car onto pit road. So evidently he's had a penalty, so he will have to serve that one. As you've got Antti Pajada right now, right on the rear of that number 17 car. Down to the inside he will go, but not able to get enough of momentum there out of turn number 2. And these guys are still nose to tail as they come through turn number 3 once again. And this is some very close racing down on the rear end of your top 10, Cam.
Yes, Antti Pajala in that white roof car. He is pointing that nose either which way. Normally when you're looking at cars coming up the mountain, you can really only see the one car and then the car behind it silhouettes, but no, not Antti Pajala. Pajala has been sticking the nose out. He is trying to work his way around Santeri Kalunki, but he just has not been able to. But ultimately, it's just going to come down to how your exit is off of the bottom of the mountain. Let's see if Antti Pajala will be able to catch up here through the bottoming section here. Of course, you've got the Dipper and all the other very frightening corners here of Bathurst. And then it's that powerful exit to go down the Conrad Straight, which is very high speed, and these track cars are going to be absolutely showing us to that in just a few seconds' time.
Yeah, we're having ourselves a look on board with Timo Toika as he is running himself now down this incredibly long back straightaway, and anyone who has ever seen a car go down Conrad will know just how fast it is. Listen to the engine note, into the chase. Absolutely flat out into 20 and 21, and Cam, this is what gives these guys a lot of respect amongst the sim racing community. Being able to take corners like the chase, turn number 20 flat out. It's always an experience to see drivers do it, and they're doing it again here. Pajada, of course, is running himself, well, in a reasonable position at this stage of the event.
Yes, he is, but Alexia Loma is coming down the pit lane. That's he started up well up in the field. He started up in 6th. He is now stopped The car looks relatively okay. Not sure what's going on with him there, but the entirety of the field, that must have been a stop-and-go penalty. I did see a couple of cars jump it up a little bit, but at the start, so perhaps they're coming in and serving those penalties. But Alexei Aloma going well to the back of the field and pulling out in front of the number 27 position car.
Yeah, and just having a look to see there is Alexei Aloma. You can see him now on your screen down in P number 26 on track, and that is not what he would have wanted to have happened here today in this event. And this now is going to be a very long drive. We've got ourselves Timo Toika. Oh, big incident there up the mountain. Timo Toika and the number 46 car. We're just showing him, and he has had a wicked impact. Replay of that one is coming up for you now. But that's our first big crash out the mountain today. This is down into turn number 3. You can see a huge drift there for the number 46 car, and then before you know it, you will see another driver just coming into shot here, and he is going to get clipped there by the number 37 machine as well. Timo Toika's day is pretty much now dead in the water, and that number 37 car who made the contact with him, looking as though that is going to have a little bit of issues to that car as well. So that's our first big incident of the day, Cam. We don't often see drivers having themselves that many incidents as they work themselves up the mountain, but when they do, they are always big.
Yes, and of course these roof cars rear-engined, so the rear end of that roof car skipped out on him there, and he actually did a fairly good job of not hitting anything, but ultimately, though, there can only be so many cars to go past before they make contact, and that's what we saw there.
Yeah, and also you've just noticed away from our screen, Klaus Kivikas is your new race leader. So Kivikas in the number 191 Koana Sim Sports car now leads this motor race as they come down. This is Mountain Straightaway for what is their 5th time in this event. Having a look then on board with Yaya Otari right now, as you can see, closing right up to rear of Kivikas in towards the second corner as they work themselves back down into the cutting once again. This is the point that you had Otari's incident about a lap or so ago now, and just trying to get an update as well from pit road, see if there are any guys. Well, we've got a couple now out of the race. Antti Salminen, number 62 machine, number 108 car, Timo Haramaki, also the 991 car. Timo Toika is out. Aleski Salmi in the number 27 machine also sat on pit road. You can see Timo Toika is looking as though he's going to get out of that race car for the time being, at least. Having a look further down in your pack, you've got yourself right now battle between Joni Cauldron and Marco Pentonen. This is for the last, actually repeated 11 and 12 on track right now as we work ourselves on board with Joni Cauldron. About 10 minutes of this race scored complete, and well, the attrition rate, we've had about 6 drivers wounded, but we kind of almost expected that one at the start of this event. Field is starting to separate overall though, Cam.
Yes, we're actually seeing Klaus Kivikas managing a gap, which is something that I wasn't expecting to see here at the front end of the field. But he is pulling that gap over now those 3 Glacier cars and also the car of Tomi Haka. But ultimately, though, everyone is just right in each other's wheel tracks. I mean, going all the way down through the entirety of the fields of the running field, that is, about 33 cars still. That are still just nose to tail, Will, and I think it's going to be that way other than the whatever incidents may unfold. And of course it's Bathurst, it doesn't matter the cars or the talent of the drivers, there will always be a big incident at Bathurst. So it's just going to be one of those hammer and tong races, and we are already 6 laps in.
We are indeed. You can just see down the left hand side of your screen, we just displayed the biggest movers and shakers in your race so far, but here is the fascinating point, the fact that you still got, after 5 laps worth of racing, your top 5 drivers separated by 2 seconds, and there you can see a visual representation of that. They are pretty much separated by no more than 4 car lengths, so they come down into the cutting once again. So it's incredible to see the closeness of racing. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this is one club, Club Finland, but we are getting ourselves very close to another round of the World Cup of iRacing. Only 2 teams have ever won the World Cup, and they, of course, are Club DX and Club Finland. It all kicks off once again, 12 p.m. GMT. Group A will be right here on RaceSpotTV, and we're going to have ourselves, well, quite a lot of entertaining racing. Group A will have UK and Ireland, Asia, France and Central Eastern Europe, those of you looking for Club Finland, they're going to be in prime time. They are going to be facing out against Australia, New Zealand, Club Iberia and Club Texas. I tell you what, Group A and Group C, in my opinions, are going to be some of the most interesting to watch because there's a little bit of bad blood between Finland and Australia from years previous, Cam.
Well, it is all just a matter of these national communities and how they've interacted over the last couple of years. Of course, iRacing having had this World Cup for quite a few years now, so we'll have to see whether or not they'll make some fireworks. But yeah, it's going to be that World Cup play. I'm a big fan of the World Cup of iRacing, and it is always a good show.
Johnny Caldron is going to move himself there past Marco Penton and P number 11 and 12 side by side, down once again in towards the chase. And actually, it's going to be Pentonen who will come back out with the front running of that one. At the rear of the field, you've got yourself the number 64 machine of Vicky batting out Timo Mekpa as they come down. This is into the chase themselves. A lot of two-wide racing coming down into the chase. And to give you an update on the weather for today, air temperature 76 degrees Fahrenheit, a humidity of 29%, so low humidity here today. Got a couple of clouds in the air, but the wind speed 17 kilometers an hour. That is the one that you're going to want to keep an eye out on. And it seems to be, it's not really favouring drivers in terms of getting a tow so far in this race, Cam. More, it's causing a crosswind up the mountain, and that is making things difficult for these guys.
Well, that it is, and of course, having the wind at your back or having the wind at your face is a lot easier than having it going side to side, but we'll hopefully won't catch too many of these guys out as Marco Penttinen will lose that position once again to Jean Kaijin and the number 43 car, as of course they've been battling for a couple of laps now actually, Marco and Jean, but ultimately though Jean was able to get it through Griffin's Bend and taking it up towards the top of the mountain as they go through it once again. Quite a couple of two-wide battles going through the whole field here. It's quite interesting to see, actually, this much two-wide action going on this early.
Yeah, Juha Pakalami right now scrapping out with Marco Kika. This is for P number 17 and 18. They're going to have to get a single file for the moment as we'll go on board then with the driver of Juha Pakalami, who so far in this event has worked himself up a total of 13 positions. So Pakalami having himself a strong showing. He's got the Datec number 82 machine of Marco Kika right ahead of him. And then Timo Escola is just about 4 car lengths further up the road. Under the Jim Beam Bridge they come. Now heading themselves toward the Fuso Bridge there. The Mitsubishi Fuso Bridge. Now in towards the chase. Turn number 20. Toe in hand with Pakalami. And behind you've got Alexia Loma scrapping out and getting himself past Marco Manion. So Alexia Loma is back up into the top 20 after, of course, he had himself that pit stop penalty at the start of this race, Cam, trying to work himself back to the field. Of course, all of these guys will have to make themselves one pit stop here today.
Yes, they will, and just wondering, you don't want to all follow in one at a time. You want to see if you can stay out. You want to see if you can frog leap somebody. With how the fueling in the car is with this, I'm not quite sure you're going to really have any takers. Now, obviously, I do think that they will take tires. Nobody would be crazy enough, I don't think, to do a full run on one set of tires. Maybe, you know what, it's only 45 minutes. Maybe they won't take tires. But I guess that is one of those things where you just have to see it as it comes out. But the field still quite caught up to each other here as Klaus Kivikas is still leading this race with Jari Lotari now in second, Riku Alatalo in third, and Tomi Haka in fourth. Now, Riku, we weren't able to actually see the change of position. It was actually quite a few laps before we had even seen it. It was actually a rather simple pass going into Griffin's Bend. So Klaus Kivikas, though, he's managed to pull a little bit of a gap, about half a second. But it's just one of those gaps that he's managed to pull that out. He has not gotten anywhere since that.
Yeah, and here's an interesting point to note, of course. It will come down to, and we'll have to have a look there from our aerial coverage and show you, there is pit entry. You can see just how difficult it is. And these guys, you will see some people drifting into pit road. If you can nail pit entry, there is a strong chance you can make up some positions on track. As you can just see there, the wonderful pit complex now down into hell corner once again. There on the left-hand side of your screen is Kivikas. You can still see Lottari, Adatalo, and Haka all in a one shot. We'll zoom it in though. And this is the two Glacier Racing drivers in P2 and P3. You still got yourself the Commander Simsport driver at the front of your field. And that, there you can see, is Kivikas in the number 191 car. 3 Glacier Racing drivers inside the top 5 is behind Jukka Sovalainen batting out the Timo Velekdravi right now. This is a P at number 9 and 10 as we have ourselves a look from the rear. Actually, no, we're going to have a look. Aloma back on towards pit road cam. This might be a scheduled pit stop to try and get away from traffic.
Well, perhaps he comes in. We'll see what he wants to do. The car does not go up on the jack, so they're just going to throw it up full of fuel as... Actually, yeah, there's Joni Hagner's car and Timo Toika's car as well. Those ones are the damaged ones. Alexi Aloma, though, gets it full of fuel, and he will come away. He must have enough for the finish. About half an hour he's going to need to go on that fuel tank, as we have been about 16 minutes into this race. Alexi Aloma, though, will lose all the positions that he once had, but of course, it's a heck of a lot easier when everyone else has to come in for the pits as well.
Yeah, there you can see the driver of Tommy Haka still running himself in P at number 4. So far down on one place from where he started on your starting grid. As we've got ourselves again, Hugh Pakalami involved in a battle. Marco Kika. We're going to have a look from the rear of him then as they work themselves down. This is Conrad straightaway, towards Conrad straightaway even. They're working themselves through the S's as we speak right now. I noted there was just a little bit of damage to the number 24, for the number 12 machine there of Hugh Pakalami. Want to keep an eye out on that one as we look from the rear then of the Dayco number 82 car. Almost running to the rear does Hugh Pakalami. We've got the speed chart up as well. Gap is a third of a second. I want to know what kind of speed Pakalami can get with the toes and now come down. Conrad's in towards the chase one more time. And well, 2 kilometers an hour, maybe not much at all there. Although, but they are going to go side by side. Kika's going to actually be able to hold on for Hugh Pakalami for the time being. And that was Timo Escola there as well. He wanted a piece of the action. Escola almost did 2 drivers in one go cam.
Yes, Timo Escola, having fallen well back, actually he's going to lose a 3rd position in this one lap. That is a terrible long straight. He seems to have a little bit of that front end damage there, Timo. So he was a little scrubbed there going down the Conrad straight, but he will hold his position against Markku Meninen. But ultimately, though, going through hell corner, he'll keep it, Timo Escola. So he only lost 2. That's not too bad at all, looking at the front end of that car. But Jehu Pukalami will now have one Mr. Marco Kikia in the front of him as they will go up the mountain once again. So this is in the battle for 15th position. There's only just a couple of more seconds, though. It's one of those things where you're always able to look out of the front windshield and the rear windshield, and you can just see cars as far as the eye can see, and that is always a great sight.
Yeah, let's look at Mikael Nymstrom there in a number 44 machine, running himself in P number 12. We talked about the gap. For the first time out front, the gap is above 1 second between Klaus Klivikas and Jari Lottari. This is the biggest we have seen that gap so far, though it has come down below a second again because of course, the toe that the driver of Lottari will get. And that is about 4 tenths per second. He is gained on this back straightaway alone. So it does seem to be that first phase of the toe, you gain quite a lot there, Cam. And that's why Kivikas isn't able to pull away. He has to essentially be 1.4, 1.5 seconds ahead before they exit turn number 18, the dipper. Otherwise, he's going to be reeled back in and all the way down Conrad straight away.
Yes, these cars are hitting. Now, of course, these are the RT12R track cars. They're hitting about 170 going down Conrad, which is just, it's ballistic, quite frankly. But Klaus Klivikas, he's holding all of that wind off of the shaped nose of that roof car. He's hitting about 168, whereas Johi Lortori is able to hit about 171, and actually even going up the straight towards Griffin's Bend, you can even see the effects of it as these shaped cars are able to really just keep in tow, keep in touch, as Klaus Kivikas now has not 1 but 2 Glacier Racing cars right up front. As Klaus Kivikas, I don't think he's looking too much in his rearview mirrors, but if he were,
I'm going to interrupt you. We've got a big incident with the driver on track. This is Marco Manion, who's just had himself a huge crash. And this is down, I believe, at the end of the final corner. We see this every so often. Marco Manion there, going to get the back end turnaround. Yep, it is a typical final corner crash. Out of Murray's corner, tried to turn that car around. You can see that Marco Manion just couldn't get that car turned around. Traffic coming up behind him, had to get it towed on towards pit road. His day is done. And that is another driver who classified as out of the race. You can see there, we'll zoom our camera out. Pit road does look like a second-hand spares and repairs only car showroom. As coming out of pit road, it is Veli-Matti Hulso right now in the 303 car, heading himself out of the inside of Hell Corner, and you'll see the blend line there. You've got to be careful. A new mode where you see the dash line. If you do it while it's a solid line, or you'll be back on pit road, you'll be getting yourself a stop and go penalty. As Marco Manion indeed is on pit road, and it looks as though he will be classified as out of the event. First Kivikas, for a moment he had the chance to move himself a second clear. Yoel Lottari decided he didn't want to play any part of that. The gap is now down to half a second once again into the second part of this round number 4 of the Finnish Sim Racing Championship, sanctioned by the Finnish Sim Racing Association here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. As we're just having a look there, P number 4, Tommy Hacker, once again still staying with this group, and it's interesting to note P4 to P5 is now a 4-second gap. Realistically, it's a 4-horse race now in this field, Cam.
Well, that it is, unless something dramatic happens or they end up hitting lapped traffic, which is almost certain in a race like this with this many cars. Klaus Kivikas is still doing a fairly good job here. I mean, he's been running 2-minute, 3-second laps all race long. His last lap was actually his fastest yet. Lap 11 for Klaus Kivikas, a 2:03.470. That's the fastest that he has gone up the mountain so far, as he has got, as we said, this 4-horse race. All 4 of them are within that time bracket, so any one of these 4 guys can really come home with it if somebody else makes a mistake. But it is where you are going to pass, when you are going to pass, and how much pressure you want to apply, and how much you really want to risk your own race car here at a track like Bathurst.
We talk about how much you want to risk your race car. Look at the number 44 machine of Mikael Lindstrom. He's got severe damage to that car. He is on pit road. Got a couple of people on pit road. This guy, Yari Lomokji, there is going to be coming out of pit road, and he is on a 14-second pit stop. He is back out and away. You've also got yourself another driver coming out of pit road. That is a number 64 car. Yeah, Vicky, classified as 1 lap down. In fact, many laps down. That was, yes, you are right, a 521-second pit stop for him. Lottari, this is as close as he's been to the rear of Kivikas in a very long time as we tick off 20 minutes left to go in this event. And anyone who saw yesterday's Classic IndyCar Series event at Laguna Seca, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, will know. And when we saw 20 minutes to go, it all kicked off. We got 3 drivers who can still really have a big shot in this race. Adesalo's dropped back just a little bit. Tommy Hacker is dropped back just a little bit. But I'm intrigued. I think some of these guys, they almost want to see how close they can close from. As you can see, defensive line being taken from Kivikas. Lottari thinks about going around the long way, decides, no, not just yet, Cam.
No, he's probing the defenses. I didn't think that he was going to go look for a pass like that. If you can surprise somebody, you can catch somebody napping. You can do that where you can you'll be riding behind somebody lap after lap and then just jump out when they don't expect it. But no, Klaus Kivikas kind of saw the overspeeds right there, just took the inside defensive line for Griffin's Bend, and Jari Lottari just went to look at the outside, thought better of it, which was, I think, the right decision. They've still got 20 minutes of racing here at Bathurst, and he's still got 20 more minutes to probe the defenses and the strengths and weaknesses of that car that is in the hands of Klaus Kivikas.
I just want to take a very quick moment. Just whilst we have the opportunity, did you know, I'm going to give you a random fact here, Cam. A year ago, right now, I just turned on the broadcast for the first ever 24-hour race broadcast in iRacing.com history.
Wow, that's really. Well, I guess it is at this 1 year ago. That's one of my very first broadcasts here on RaceSpotTV, so I'll drink to that, I guess. So anyways, yes, Klaus Kivikas, though, it's just one of those things. He keeps, I think he's faster down the mountain. I think going up the mountain, Johi Lotori is able to keep with him, but down the mountain, Klaus Kivikas is just throwing that car away into the corners. I don't want to say with abandon, because he hasn't been going crazy. He's not pulling a Shane Van Gisden. Oh, cheapers. I can't say names with
Shane Van Gisbergen.
with 3 names in. There you go. Thank you. He's not trying to throw the car away like Shane Van Gisbergen, but, you know, he is just doing a great lap one after again, and already Klaus Kivikas was already on the defensive line, and they are actually going around the lapped car of Hannu Wallin. And that's another aspect here. We're going to have quite a few lapped cars and damaged cars pulling back out onto the track to get their position. So we'll perhaps, if Johi Lotori can't get the position without just on a clean track, maybe he can get a good pick off of one of these lapped cars.
Indeed, as we're having a look there. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see your top 20 drivers and how many seconds they are behind your race leader as it stands. You can see it's incredibly close out front, but then the gaps get exponentially bigger as you work yourself back through the field. Well, here we are then, 17 minutes to go. Pit road will be a very busy place before too long. No one inside of your top 15 has made a pit stop yet in this event. So, as I said, expect most of them to come in within 2 laps of each other. We ride ourselves on board with Ricky Radatalo, with Johi Lotori on the exit now of the Dipper. Through Forest Airball he comes. 16 minutes. Realistically, we've got ourselves less than about 8 laps to go when we get to the start-finish line. So 8 laps at the point that we start the next lap of this event. These guys have done 13 already. You've got yourself a spinner. We've got ourselves a spinner on track, and that is this guy. It is Salentri Kalunki in the number 17 machine. Replay. What happened to him? Going to get ourselves a look at that one now. He dinged the car once, and I think that upset the steering just a little bit, and then as he came down into the Dipper, back end stepped out, and indeed, he just went from one wall to another like a ping pong, and that is Santeri Kalunkini out of the event for the time being, as Hua Pakalame, we're getting word, may have had an incident as well. Indeed, he has just had himself an incident. So Hua Pakalame is all kicking off here. All of a sudden, let's have a look on board with Pakalame as he works himself through the S's. And will it be exactly the same cause? Yes, he does. Just tagged one of the walls on the left-hand side. His day is done, and that car is on pit road. Riccardo Taulo, the first of your front runners on towards pit road. Cam, number 80, Glacier Racing car is in the pits. Pit stop time is important. 12.4 seconds. He's back out and away.
Yes, he is. Now, he does not have to take a ton of fuel as they have waited so long. So, Riku Alatello, the first to pull in out of these cars. Now, of course, they are fuel restricted, only 50% of what the tank can hold, but he has got more than enough, hopefully, to finish. Now, we did see Alexi Aloma come into the pits well early on after his penalty. He's driven himself up to 16th position, but he had to take on all of that fuel. So that has, I don't want to say it's been slowing him down, but perhaps that's been getting the tires a little warmer, a little more weight to throw around the corners. But Rico Altalo doesn't have to throw all of that fuel around, as he's only got enough for the finish, because we are just about to hit 15 minutes to go.
We've actually just passed that point by about 20 seconds, but here is Lotori. He's fallen back actually a little bit on this lap. The gap is 1 second almost, and Lotori seems to be as if the back end just got a little bit loose on him on the exit of the Dipper, but he's gained again. He's 10 kilometers an hour faster down Conrad compared to Klaus Kivikas. That is the value of the toe here. So this is one thing that you need to be aware of. Back on board of him. Does any of these guys go to the left hand side? Yes, both of them on towards pit road at the same time. Kivikas, Lotori actually, this will work out for him because he had someone to be his braking reference point, and look at how much he closed up on the run down and towards pit road. They are pretty much going to be nose to tail. There's going to be a car coming out of pit road. They will not impede these two guys at all. So now we need to figure out who's going to come out first. Their pit stalls are pretty much next to each other. Kivikas will come in to his stall. 191 machine. You've got Yuri Latari there as well. The winner of this one will pretty much be facing it out with Riku Adatalo for the race victory. It's going to be Kivikas who's going to come out first. Where is he going to be in relation to Adatalo? Having a look from the rear then, and it looks as though that Kivikas will keep the race lead.
Yes, he will on that exit, though. He had to go full counter steer as he absolutely lit those rears up coming out of the exit. So Yari Lotari there is looking at possibly the biggest gap he has seen just yet. Should still be in draft range, but Riku Alatalo even further behind, of course. So I did also see it was Joni Takanen also came into the pits there, who is in 4th position right now, but it is all eyes on Klaus Kivikas. This is now his first lap out. He's got enough fuel for the finish. Of course, nobody has taken tires here today, which I was wondering, but so that is confirmed. Nobody's taken new tires. We'll have to see what they will be able to do for the rest of this race, Will.
Tommy Hacker, here is your current race leader. He is officially your 3rd different leader of the day. He hasn't officially yet led a lap. It'll be interesting to see whether he will technically do so. He probably will if he brings that car on towards pit road regardless, but then of course it'll be Kivikas who will have the race lead again. The gap between Kivikas and Lotari, well, it's been a stunning outlap for Kivikas. The gap is now 1.8 seconds, and now we're going to show you the speed chart once again, and this is important. You notice that Lotari cannot close up the same way he was able to do previously. He doesn't get that 10 km/h advantage he had. This is why Kivikas now, this race is almost his to win. Tommy Hacker indeed does come on towards pit road. He does officially lead a lap, but this is him now coming into the pit, and that means that this guy, Klaus Kivikas, is once again going to be your race leader. 1.5 seconds to gap then between Kivikas and Lotari, but it does look as though that it's going to take a lot for Kivikas and this Commander Sim Sports car not to be in command of this event. A couple of more people to finish their pit stop. So you can see number 91 car of Hacker will come out in P number 4. The critical part of that one is, though, I'm having a look at the times. 11.4 second pit stop for Kivikas, 12.4 for both Lotari and Alatalo. That 1 second has made this race blow wide open, Cam.
Yes, it has. He had a very good pit stall stop. Now, of course, Yari had the better entry into pit lane, obviously, as he was able to close right on up as Kivikas is now having a counter steer up a couple of corners here up the mountain. Actually, he has counter steered 2 or 3, 4 times now. So maybe that car is just getting a little unhappy, but hopefully with this gap he can settle the car back down and he can get that thing rolling. But Klaus Kivikas, I think, had a better entry into his actual pit stall. I think a lot of people, they coast the speed down just a hair and then they stop in their pit stall, whereas Kivikas was able to just pull in, full stop, and pulled away very cleanly.
Having a look then at the rest of your top 10 as they cycle through the screens, there is Mika Happen. I'm going to have a look at your biggest movers and shakers in this event then. Kivikas, well, he started inside the top 3. He's leading this race. The biggest mover inside the top 10 is Caldron, running in P number 10 as it stands. You got some big movers in the middle part of your field. It is worth noting that Alexia Loma, he's back up into the top 10. We do think he's going to have enough fuel to get to the end of this event, Cam. And of course, well, he had himself that penalty at the start. He is currently classified 45 seconds behind your race leader. Interestingly enough, if he didn't have that penalty, he'll be right there battling for the win.
Yes, and you know, pulling in early and getting that fuel, I'm still not sure if that was the best of strategy. Obviously, he's made the best of what was given to him. I don't think he would have done it if he didn't get the penalty. But, yes, a very good recovery, I have to say, from Alexia Loma, having been dropped down to legitimately the end of the field. Now to be back up to 8th position, even though he did start in 6th, that is an amazing recovery drive.
Well, of course, one of the things that would have helped him was the fact he's had a clear track for most of this run. But we're going to ride a lap then on board with Alexia Loma in that number 13 car. Cam, as he heads himself through Murray's Corner take us through a journey, a lap journey, with on board Alexei.
Yeah, so we clear the final corner here. It's actually one of the most difficult corners, if you can believe it. And then you go into hell corner, a straight up 90-degree, very flat corner, where there's also the pit exit. You'll see it on the left-hand side. There it is, as he will now get up through the gears on the sequential here, as they will blitz their way up through the mountain straight, heading towards the mountain. You can see it very far in the distance as he goes under the Petters Bridge. He will be hitting almost top speed, just about 160 miles an hour before he gets on the brakes and starts rolling it through the inside. He stays away from the curbings, but these cars are okay for taking that curbing, as they will head up to turns number 3, 4, and 5, otherwise known as the cutting. This complex is almost a double apex single corner. You go up the hill, and the throttle is your courage here, as you're just trying to struggle for grip, trying to keep that car on the path of what you want to do. A lot of momentum has to be thrown through Reed Park and Frog Hollow before you get to Solman Park, right here on the right, Solman Park, as he will now clip barely the inside of McPhillamy before he hits the very top of the mountain. He'll hit a little bit of that curbing, and then they go under the Coatshire Bridge before he starts in the downhill section. Very, very steep, one long, constant momentum. I almost think you're just trying to control a falling car as he seesaws the wheel left and right to keep away from these very tall concrete barriers. He'll finally get to the very bottom at Forest's Elbow, and then he will head down into Conrad Strait. It's actually, you'd like to think that you could rest here, but there's a little bit of a crowning here in the road, and you've got to switch it from one lane to another as you control the speed he will be hitting. Top speed for him is about 160 miles an hour. Actually, he'll hit about 170 as he just goes through the cutting. The chase into turn number 21. They had to add that there because cars were going way too fast. If you can imagine, you take it up that tricky little uphill right-hander, a little uphill downhill, and then go into Murray's for the final turn number 23. You can actually see the starting pylon. Some people have to start behind Murray's, and he will cross the start-finish line. Start-finish line is actually a little bit early here at Bathurst, as they start about halfway through. The finish line is just about after Murray's corner, and I think that if things get any closer, it could be very, very important.
Your battle for the race lead? Well, it's still about 1.5 seconds. Last time by, Yoel Latari did a 2:03.827. It was a 2:04.001 for Klaus Kvyat, but it's not really enough. Latari needs to hope, essentially. He brakes within about 1.3 seconds as they head themselves on the exit of this corner. That is the dipper, of course. And let's have a look then. Back at the speed chart between these two drivers. No, it was about 279 that Latari is able to do when he was in the clear tow. You can see he's closing again. It's down to about 1.1 seconds, and he is getting a big tow, actually. It's about 278 kilometers an hour he did, and he's gaining about 4 tenths of a second still down Conrad Strait. But the issue is that it seems to be that the dirty air is just affecting Latari's car enough that he can't close up on the first 2 sectors of this racetrack, and it does seem to be that Kvyat is strong there. We've got ourselves Jenny Caldron on pit road in number 43 machine. It does look as though that one could well be terminal. Over a 30-second pit stop for him. There you can see your race leader, number 191 car of Klaus Kvyat. Then you've got yourself Yoel Latari in second. Ricardo Taulo runs himself in third place right now. Then Tommy Hacker rounding out your top 4. Yoni Tankanen, well, he's all the way back here in P number 5. And you'll know where P6 is, Mika Happinen. He's even further back, and he is 8.6 seconds away from the top 5. And then there's all of this clear traffic, this clear track, all the way from about P6 down to about P10. They are all very spread out. Attrition has been a big point here today, though, Cam. We haven't shown all the drivers hitting the wall, but there have been a lot of people getting what I'm going to call their Bathurst points.
Yes, especially in a car like this with the straight 6 rear-engined, a lot of weight you're trying to throw around to the rear. And I think it just you get a little bit of a wiggle, and on a normal race course you've got some runoff. Here there is no forgiveness for that little bit of a wiggle, as Klaus Kvyat is starting to take quite a bit of curbings. I've been looking at his lap times actually, and he is still trying to throw this car. I think I don't think he's realizing, but it seems to me that the only place he can really defend is going down the mountain. And I have to say, that Glacier Racing car of Jari Lotari looks quite close as they have to go around a lapped car. Klaus Kivikas will actually cut the nose of the wind off, so now not only will Jari have to go uphill, but he'll also get unaided by the draft. But ultimately, though, I have to say that Jari Lotari car is looking like it is getting a little bit bigger, but actually is closing up quite steadily here through this downward section. This is where Klaus Kivikas was faster in the beginning. We'll have to see where his lap times are. Just as I was saying, he's been running about 204s, whereas Jari Lotari has been running 203s every single lap, as he will come by one more time. That's a 204.2, whereas Jari Lotari has run a 203.8, so that gap is closing down, Will.
And it's been that way for the last 3 laps or so. 204.1s, 204.2s by Klaus Kivikas and number 191 car compared to a 203.8 for Lotari. Here's the issue though. He's only got 2 laps of this event to go. They will have the white flag the next time they come past the start-finish line. So now realistically, if you're Lotari, you've got to figure out where you need to be on the exit of the dipper. You need to figure it out now. And it's almost like what we have quite often on Sunday night skippies here, Cam. It's more about track placement than pure speed once you're this close. And if he can stay where he is, and I have to say, he has lost half a second at the start of this lap. If he can close up to within half a second coming down into the dipper, we've got a race.
Well, that we do, but if he is even able to close it up, as he has actually fallen well back in the uphill section, he got quite a couple of very strong wiggles from that car, as Johi Lotari did, and he is falling back steadily, but we'll see if he can't catch it up just a little bit going through the downhill sections. But ultimately, though, I almost wonder if you're Jari Lotari, if you don't think, hey, right now the only place I'm really going to be able to have a shot of this is if I try and close up as much as I can and get him into Griffin's Bend, but he just looks so far back now. Klaus Kivikas, I have to say, this battle is going to be in his hands.
Yeah, and the gap was at 1.4 seconds as they came down on the exit of the dipper. So it has just dipped back below a second. But Klaus Kivikas, it looks as though that the little half slide there for Jari Lotari, that has basically put the nail in his coffin. He's going to have to literally have a lap of the gods if he's going to close this one out. 1 minute, 10 seconds remaining. The white flag is out. There's one more lap of this event to go. Your top 3 drivers still separated though by 5 seconds on track. There is Riccardo Taulo. He rounds out your podium as it stands. But Kivikas, 1.2 seconds, the gap between himself and Jari Lotari down Mountain straightaway for the final time, Cam.
Yes, here he is. This has been a very strong race from Klaus Kivikas. He's been doing very quick laps. Halfway through the race is when his fastest lap was, and that's exactly when you need it. So Klaus Kivikas was able to make the pass going into Griffin's Bend for the lead on an outside defense mistake from the other race leader, as Klaus Kivikas has now passed his second lapped car, as the lapped cars are behaving very nicely there and behaving for Jari as well as Klaus. But just going through it, Jari Lotari, well, you've tried your very best, and I understand that second place is most certainly not winning, but I would take a second place here at Bathurst any day of the week if he can hold on, as we've got half a lap here, Will, at Bathurst.
Down the S's for the final time in this event. You can see the play clock is just ticked over to 0. So Kivikas will now just have to come down the S's one more time, head himself down into the dipper one more time and run through Forest Elbow, and now be loud on that noisy pedal. It does look as though it's not going to be enough unless maybe Kivikas runs out of fuel, but look at the gap, it's 1.4 seconds as we've got ourselves Lotari on board with him. You can see the speed chart right now. He's nowhere near close enough. He's going to have to pretty much hope that something happens to Kivikas into the chase for the final time, but it's not going to happen. Klaus Kivikas in the number 191 car will head himself down in towards Murray's Corner for the final time, and it will be Cowanderson Sports and Klaus Kivikas who will win round number 4 of the Finnish Sim Racing Championship. Jari Lotari will come home in the second position, and then Riccardo Taulo will round out your podium here today. Tommy Haka will come home in P number 4. then rounding out your top 5 will be this driver. It is going to be Joni Tankkinen. Well, we've still got ourselves a number of drivers to head themselves past the start finish line. Mika Happinen will come home in the 6th position, as we can just see him now working himself out the final corner. Happinen will come home in P6. Antti Pajala working himself down towards that final corner for the final time. He's into the chase. He'll come home in 7th. And then Alexi Aloma up and down through the field today. It will be a P8 finish for him. And of course, he had himself a penalty. He had himself an early pit stop. Momentum with a clear track ended up working for him. He finished inside the top 10. Timo Valakjavi there, he's had himself a good race in that number 70 car. He will come home in the 9th position. And then Marco Penttinen will round out your top 10 this afternoon. And well, for a while, Joel Otari tried to make it entertaining, but Klaus Kivikas was just a little bit too strong, Cam.
Yes, he was. Klaus Kivikas was able to focus on his lap times, and he was managing both the lap times, the tires, and taking the defensive line when he needed it. And he only needed to do it 1 or 2 times. That's all he had to do, was take a defensive line 1 or 2 times, and he was able to keep the other cars behind all race long here, as he has managed just a great race here at Bathurst, I have to say. He took the risks he needed to take, and he came home in first place.
Well, there we are on board with your race winner, Klaus Kivikas, as he slowly does a celebratory lap up the mountain. Here's a look at your final race results. 1.4 seconds was the gap at the end then. You notice the fastest lap of the race wasn't set by Kivikas. In fact, he only set the 3rd fastest lap of the event. Joel Otari had the honours of being the fastest on 1 lap. Kivikas, though, claimed victory overall. Rico Alatalo rounds out your podium with Tommy Hacker in 4th. Then Joni Tankkinen in 5th, Mika Happinen, Antti Pajala, Alexi Aloma, and Timo Valakjavi in 9th. Marco Penttinen rounds out your top 10. Back to the field, you can see Marco Kika in 11th, Timo Escola, Eku Mokola, Veli Matti Huso in 14th, and then Yari Lukamoki in P number 15. Rest of the results, and they're coming up on your screen, as don't forget, this series is with you every 3 weeks on RaceSpotTV and also on iRacingLive. But don't forget, next week we start the pageantry that is known as the World Cup of iRacing. It's one of sim racing's craziest events of the year. There's only been 2 clubs that has ever won the World Cup. On one hand, you have yourself the mammoth Club Diach. They've won the championship in 2009, 2010, 2011, as well as 2013. The only other team to win, well, that is Club Finland. They won in 2012 and in 2014. Will it be Diach? Will it be Finland? Or will it be someone else taking themselves World Cup glory? We are going to find that one out in just a couple of weeks' time. Of course, the group stage, that will start in, well, exactly 1 week's time. And then we've got ourselves the World Cup finals. That will be the week afterwards. And that will be exclusive on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive, and do expect a very strong following from Club Finland. They are in arguably one of the toughest groups of the competition. That is going to be against Australia, New Zealand, Iberia and Club Texas. We'll talk about that one when we come back. We're going to step aside. You're watching RaceSpotTV on iRacingLive. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, then to this, the Finnish Sim Racing Championship presented by the Finnish Sim Racing Association. We're going to get ourselves a quick interview in just one moment's time with Joni Backman, who is the club principal for Club Finland. As of course, as we mentioned a moment ago, he is, of course, club captain, and Finland getting themselves ready for the World Cup of iRacing, which of course kicks off in 1 week's time. And that will be here on RaceSpotTV for Group A, and then of course the World Cup finals, which take place week afterwards. That will be on November 14th. That will be on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. Standing by with Joni Backman now. Joni, seeing some very fast drivers here today. Of course, it's that time of the year that we all start thinking about the World Cup again. It's realistically you guys in the group of death this year. Are you worried at all?
Not really, no. I mean, it's basically, I mean, if you want to win the World Cup, you have to be in the group of death anyway. I mean, when you get to the finals. But I wouldn't think of our group as a group of death. But every group is actually having at least one tough club there to beat. No, I don't think so.
You've got yourselves Australia, New Zealand, Iberia and Texas. Of course, you guys had a very interesting scrap with Iberia last year in the finals. In so many cases here, it's not necessarily about who's the fastest club, but who can get the most drivers inside of the top 10 when all is said and done. What's the strategy for you guys and your team coming into this World Cup, as you are, of course, the defending champions?
We actually haven't thought about a strategy yet, but I would think I will be saying I'll be telling our drivers the same thing as I told last World Cup. I mean, the group stage, just focus on getting the cars to the finish line. I mean, if you have to really go at it for the win of the race or take a safe second position, take the latter one. I mean, DNFing it would be the worst case scenario, because then you would be no good for the club.
And of course, your aim is to progress to the finals. Are you expecting it to be yourselves and Club Diach in the finals again as the two teams scrapping it out, or any other clubs you've got your eye on this year?
I have no doubt in my mind.
Well, no
Any other attitude would be bad.
Yoni, thank you very much for talking to us. We'll talk to you no doubt over the course of the next couple of weeks. We'll see if we can get a couple of interviews with some drivers in a moment's time as well. Cam, it's an interesting World Cup that we're going to have. We've got ourselves with four groups. We're going to be running the group stage next week, and that is going to be Club UK and Ireland, Club Asia, Club France, and Central Eastern Europe. That starts at 12:30 PM GMT on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. Then Group B, that's going to be Club Diach along with Club Scandinavia, West Racing Club and Club Florida. That will be on GTR Live from 5 PM GMT. Then you're going to have, so that's from 3 PM GMT, I'd take that one back. Then you got yourself a Global Sim Racing channel doing a double header, 10 PM GMT, Finland, Australia, New Zealand, Iberia and Texas. Finishing it up with Group D, 1 AM GMT on Sunday, Northwest versus Canada versus New York versus Carolina. 16 clubs battling to make the World Cup finals, which takes place on November 14th, and it is on RaceSpotTV.
It is going to be definitely exciting. If you're familiar with the World Cup of quote-unquote football, or soccer as we call it here in the States, it is just an exciting challenge of all of the different nations, the different areas, of course, as the United States is broken up into many different teams, as well as other places in Europe and around the world. So you take a group like that, sessions like that, then you stick them on an oval, stick them on a road course, and find out who is the best of the best. Very exciting for that. Of course, I'd like to cheer on Group New York, but I don't really know anybody, but that's okay. So we'll have to see. That's actually between New York, Northwest Canada, and Carolina. It just seems very cold this time of year.
Indeed so. Well, we're going to get ourselves a word now with Jori Latari. Jori, you came home P2 when all was said and done. You had yourself with scrap with Klaus Kivikas, but it did seem to be at the end. 2 laps to go. Just pushed a little bit too hard. And you weren't able to get yourself within the tow that you needed at the end of the event.
Well, yeah, that happened. I'm
I'm thinking I wouldn't have had any chance of overtaking Klaus because his car setup was so good up on top of the mountain and coming down the mountain. So only place where I could really catch was in the straights. He was using way more wing than I had.
Well, you had yourself a good run. Of course, it was yourself scrapping it out with Alatalo, scrapping it out with Klaus Kvykas at the start. Were you thinking potentially that you two could have worked together to get past Kvykas if you had had a chance in the latter part of the race?
Yeah, that was my plan. I was, whether or not Riku was in front, it was either Riku or Klaus. I was thinking I would make myself into P2 and then work with the leader and try to lose the P3 guy.
Well, you weren't able, unfortunately, to get yourself a victory here today, but of course we're back soon. Another round of the championship. How do you think things will fare for you next?
We'll see. I don't know.
That is the widest comment I think I've had all day. I'm going to lower your there for Glacier Racing. Got yourself Klaus Kvykas, your race winner here as well. Klaus, Command Sim Sport, once again, a king of the mountain. Take us through that race, because it was very tough at parts.
Yeah, the qualifying didn't go so well this time, so I was like third fastest, and I managed to win my qualifying race, so I started P2 for the finals, and then then I was behind Riku for a couple of laps, and I noticed that he had a lot less wing, as well as Lohtari, and so I just couldn't get alongside on the straights, even though I was really close to him coming to the back straight, but yeah, I had more wings, so I was able to outbrake him into the last chicane, and after I did that, then he ran wide in, I think it was turn 2, so then it was me against Jari for the rest of the race, and yeah, it got quite close at times, but he never got quite close enough to try and move. And then on the last lap we had some traffic, so the gap increased a little bit again, and that was it. Then I knew when we came into the mountain on the last lap that I had the win.
Strong race for you here today. Of course, we've been talking over the course of this broadcast about the World Cup of iRacing, which takes place over the next couple of weeks. Will we see you participate in that event at all?
No, I don't have any plans regarding that.
Of course, the next time we'll likely see you then is going to be either in the Neo Endurance Series and or back here in a couple of weeks' time, plus a couple more. Do you think you continue your winning ways the next time we see you on track here?
Well, the next track is Monza, so you never know what happens there, because the draft is so strong and it's just pretty crazy racing usually, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any expectations for that race.
Well, thank you very much. Klaus Kvykas there for us, Command Sim Sports. Before you let you go, Klaus, anyone want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thanks to our sponsor for Racer, and thanks to Jari and Riku for a nice race.
Klaus Kvykas, your race winner here today. We will try and get ourselves a word with Riku Alatalo in just one moment's time. Before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, here's a quick look then, once again at your top 10 here today, and you can see that the numbers, well, it was 1.4 seconds at the end of the race, but it was a pretty tight scrap throughout the entire 45 minutes of this afternoon's race. Alatalo was third, then Haka, Tankinen, Hapanen, Bajala, Aloma, Valak and Pentanen rounding out your field. And well, we are going to potentially get a word with Alatalo in just 1 second. Don't forget, as I say, the World Cup of iRacing. Some people have asked what cars are going to be running, what tracks are going to be running at. It's going to be the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the oval side of things. 100 laps in the trucks, NASCAR trucks, and then 30 laps around Suzuka in the Dallara DW12. That makes up your 2015 World Cup of iRacing. Joined at this stage now by Riku Alatalo. Riku, tough race. P1 down to P3, lost out on pit stops just a little bit as well. You weren't able to be there in the fight at the end, but talk us through your event.
Oh yeah, hey, well, obviously starting from pole, I mean, you can't be happy with P3, but I knew Jari and us were both really fast, so my main concern was to try to keep them behind me and go fast, which I miserably failed at both of those objectives. So Klaus came past with a bit of a dive. I wasn't really expecting him to be that good on the brakes, and then I forgot trying to go outside turn 2 is like same as trying to kill yourself, so I made that mistake, and then Jari got an easy pass on the inside because I was so slow on the exit, and yeah, and then I made another mistake in last corner, so Haka got past me. Luckily I got past him again in the pits. If I had not made that mistake and I would have been right behind Jari and Klaus before the pit stops, it would have been slightly more interesting, but oh well, what can you do? Makes it more tough for me to get second or third in the points, but hopefully the last 2 weeks go well.
Well, of course, you got Monza coming up next as far as this championship goes. Before that, like, you've got the World Cup of iRacing. We're going to see you in the World Cup.
Yeah, I don't have the Xfinity cars, so I won't be doing the oval section, but you'll see me racing in the IndyCar.
Well, we'll see you potentially over the next couple of weeks then. Of course, group stage is next week for you, and then hopefully the finals the week after. That is Riku Alatalo for Glacier Racing, ladies and gentlemen. That rounds out your podium here today. We're going to step away and finish things off in just one moment's time. But Cam, next time we are here for this series, it's Monza. It really is the Talladega of this series in terms of craziness. We've had a crazy race here today. The draft, all that's going to be exciting when we head ourselves to Monza next time out.
Yes, there's many turns, 23 here at Bathurst. Obviously, Monza, not as many turns, a little bit more distance on either side. Only there's a couple of chicanes, so it should be tight racing all throughout. And of course, with it being a smaller track, a strategy with the pit stops will be as important as ever, Will.
Yeah, don't forget, there's so much as well that you can check out on iRacingLive. So many events coming up over the next couple of weeks and months. Don't forget that we've got ourselves every single Tuesday night on RaceSpotTV, on IndyCar.com, and on iRacingLive. It is the 16th Street Racing League, covered presented by Verizon and Racer Magazine. Coming soon, you've also got the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. That is also on RaceSpotTV. The Pro Series of Oval Racing lives on LSR TV. World Cup, of course, coming up soon. V8 Supercars on Mondays. Got yourself Sunday night skippies and Monday night skippies as iRacingLive just continues to get bigger and bigger. This has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the Finnish Sim Racing Championship, sanctioned by the Finnish Sim Racing Association. What we've seen today is Club Finland drivers are ready for the World Cup. We'll find out in a week's time who else is going to be in. And that is where we're going to see so much fun. We'll be back with you in a week's time. Talk to you in a bit. Bye-bye.